Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. Hi everyone. I see today's chat with Dionne as a true gift of my recovery. I met Dionne when she and her ex-husband lived in the same block of flats as us. The two couples became friends very quickly. Through this friendship, a whole network of other friendships developed for both parties concerned. Unfortunately, as a result of my addiction, Dionne deemed it safer for her to not have contact with me, which was the end of the friendship as we knew it then. I owned my part in that situation, made my amends, and we have consequently had contact again. It is only through the cat lady, whom you've heard in a previous episode, that the friendship started developing again. I am very grateful for that. It shows that the 12-step recovery program works and that gifts do follow as a result of the work we put in. Dionne has changed immensely since we last had contact, and I am very excited for her to share her story with us today. Dionne, how are you doing?
I'm nervous.
What are you nervous about?
I don't know about where this is going to go.
That's interesting. This is not a therapy session.
Yes.
so you don't have to unearth stuff that might be
laying low.
Might be lurking somewhere in the subconscious. This is absolutely purely just a casual chat about spirituality. Your sense of, if you think you've got a sense of, if you don't, we might investigate that. It might be a very short chat. But I got you here today because I think you do have a sense of spirituality. And I think there is something to tell people.
I like to think that I've got a sense of spirituality. I think it's my own interpretation thereof, because for me, spirituality, it tends to all lead to one place. And whenever, I've got a lot of Jewish clients who have what they see as their spirituality, which is their religion.
Yeah.
And then I have certain friends who are religious, whether it be Catholic or whether it be New Age, Hillsong, whatever. But for me, the very common thread all seems to point towards one thing. And whatever you call it, the reason I don't like man-made religions is because they put too many boundaries down. And my spirituality is very much nature.
I find your term man-made quite interesting, because that's ultimately what, the way I look at it, organized religion nearly becomes.
But that's what I'm saying. Organized religion is man-made.
Yeah. All
my life, coming from quite a broken home, not broken, but, well, it is. Divorces, and my mother's been married 3 times, and. I always think I searched for something. And, in high school, I became quite religious. I gave my life...
You did?
I did.
Oh, wow.
I gave my life to the Lord, and whatever. But I kept searching for something. But I never found it in anything that was solidly... a solid institution. I don't know how to explain it. Like a church or even a shul or anything. Even the New Age religions or anything like that. It was very much... And as I've got older and as more shit has happened in my life, so I realized that it's a feeling from within of where I find solace and happiness, I suppose.
It's really, what I've discovered for me is a journey inside. It's not outside. Even though, and you also said it's nature. And that's weird because that's outside. But the connection comes from inside.
But it's the energy in nature. I think that's what I mean by my spirituality. It's just, I find myself, so I did the Fish River Canyon walk last year, 5 days. I am totally unfit. I got 2 weeks notice to go. I hadn't exercised, I hadn't anything, but, and I don't know if you know, but the Fish River Canyon, you start one end and you walk the canyon with everything that you need.
It's one of the most hectic hikes there is, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, for me, it was very hectic, and I knew I needed to do it. And 17 kilos on my back, and I started this hike. And just standing at the top of that, the trepidation, number one, but the sense of excitement of being at one with nature, because with no external life You've got what you need for 5 days on your back, and all that you need is within you. And you've got these mountains. You see, I actually get goosebumps when I'm telling you that now.
Fabulous.
And all you've got are these mountains, these canyon walls, and you're walking through it. And you're walking and you're walking, and you start turning in. And that's where I feel, for me, that's where I find, in my garden, at one with nature, on a mountain, walking, it fills me, and I become introspective, and I work things out in my head. With the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the work and cell phones, and being a mother, a lover, a friend, a housekeeper, a boss, I can't...
God, okay. Stop it now already.
No, but you know what I mean? I can't look in. I can't become introspective.
There's just not time. So
no, you got to. I find I've got to make time. But no, there's no time. If I just let life happen, I become bogged down in it, and I'm not in touch with my spirituality. Yeah.
Did you grow up in a house with any sense of spirituality, religion?
Well, yeah. We were forced to go to Sunday school every Sunday. I got christened, apparently. Yeah, religion was very much almost like a forced issue. I mean, I went to boarding school, and it was, you had to fill in a form and say whether you were Anglican, Catholic, whatever. And we grew up as Anglican, as I said, being forced to go to Sunday school every Sunday. And then, at boarding school it was kind of like I'm Anglican, in inverted commas, and the Anglican priest came to the Corsace, the boarding house, and called down all the Anglican girls and went, right, now we need to start confirmation classes. And I didn't feel like I could say no.
Yeah.
And so we landed up every Friday at this revolting man's house doing these... And I became confirmed, That was
amazing.
That was after I'd practiced that whole giving my life to the Lord kind of thing. But that's the only religion that was ever in...
Okay. You grew up here in Gordons Bay.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in boarding school?
Because my parents got divorced. So my parents got divorced when I was 12.
Okay.
Just in standard 5, and then I went to boarding school.
How was that for you?
I loved it.
No, not the boarding school, the divorce.
No, I didn't know.
One sick motherfucker.
That divorce was horrendous.
Was it?
Totally. Because...
Was it nasty? Was it... Was it... Oh no.
It was nasty. And I was the only product of my parents' union. So I kind of wondered who I was then.
Okay.
Like, what was I? If they didn't love each other anymore, what then?
Did it cross your mind kind of, don't they love me enough to stay together type of thing? Did you?
No.
Not?
No. I am supposedly a product of their love, but now they don't love each other anymore, so where does that leave me? That's when my mother started going off the rails as well. So that was the start of a cataclysmic evolution in my life, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So where did you go to boarding school?
In Stellenbosch, Terrenish.
Okay.
Die Reinse Meisies Hoërskool.
And where did mom and dad end up?
My mom was still in Gordons Bay. She was the Stadsklerkse secretaresse.
Okay.
So the town clerk secretary.
There you go.
And so we moved to a municipal house down on the Vlak this year. And my dad stayed in our big house. But it was terrible because, once again, I felt I couldn't be who I wanted to be. I had to be different things for different people. I had to be... My dad, being the youngest of 7 siblings, didn't know how to do anything for himself.
Oh, my word, okay.
I was everything. I was like a wife, a housekeeper, a cleaner, everything to him.
At the age of 12, 13?
At the age of 12 or 13, cooking for him, freezing for him, whatever. And my mother, I had to fend for myself because she hit the bottle.
Wait. So you are what they refer to these days as an adult child of an alcoholic?
Adult child of it, yes, I am.
And this is kind of sidebar. I'm hearing the most amazing stuff about that. Do you know that there's a support group for that?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Also?
Absolutely.
Have you attended?
I went to with
our mutual friend, whom I'll call the cat lady.
The cat lady. I went to an AA meeting, and it was for what do you call
adult
it?
children.
Yeah. No, well, they mixed in adult children of.
Okay.
It was for the family of.
So
there was an AA meeting going on in the main hall, and there was a.
So we went to Al-Anon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm hearing the most amazing stuff about them. More and more people I know are now, they've not done NA, they've done AA. So what's the next part of the journey? And they end up there. And I'm hearing such good stuff about it. So it might be worth going to check one of those out.
It might. We were speaking earlier about time. Yeah. No, but it is because, I mean, still these feelings are evoked when my mother starts to drink. They are evoked so hectically. It's just a an explosion within. But yeah, so my mother was still in Gordons Bay. My father was up in Gordons Bay as well. But from the age of 13, my life didn't become, and I didn't feel I could be myself. I was different people to different things. And having gone to junior school in Gordons Bay, I went to boarding school with a lot of the girls that I had been at junior school with, but none of them went to boarding school. So I was a boarding school, and I had my boarding school friends in the afternoon, and I had my day bug, what they call day bugs, during the day, and I'd sit with them. So again, I never felt like I fitted in anywhere. I was one of the only friends who had a divorced family. Then my mother moved to Cape Town. Then I was one of the only girls who'd spend every second weekend in Cape Town, so there was always this search, and more I became the person that I thought everybody wanted me to be, and left this voice inside that was looking for. I said to you that something kept searching, but I kept on pushing that aside and being that like cheerleader-y kind of, doing whatever anybody needed me to be.
To get that acknowledgement that you didn't get anywhere else. Okay. And after school, you went to college, studied beauty. Was that your first port of call?
That was it. I always knew I wanted to do that.
Okay. You're one of the few people who kind of left school, did what they studied, and stuck with it.
Everybody says that, and they're always all shocked that I've literally left school, studied, and I run my own business in the field in which I was.
And loving what you're doing.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Wow. That really, really is. So, at what stage, so once you've been confirmed in the Anglican Church, did you move away immediately?
I didn't even, that was like a blip on the radar. Donk, shit, I have to follow these thingy classes. Did it, and then if you got grounded, then you had to go to church. But that's the very interesting thing for me. So you could choose to go to a different church. So I would go with my friend Marika, who lived in Napier. I would go with her to the NG.
Oh my word. Okay,
yeah.
right.
Because you know what? To expose yourself to everything, I think is amazing. I went to the Catholic church. I went to everything. And every time I went to a church, there'd be something like I'd be filled. I can't help but feel a sense of like awe when I walk into a church, whether it be that it's so beautiful or whether it be that it's so, I don't know, solemn, or maybe you do start thinking about spirituality or whatever. But then I always found something that I'd sort of question.
Okay. Kind of incompatible to whatever you felt inside. It was not.
It's like I'll never forget. I had this older friend, and she was a Catholic through and through, but she was a normal person, again in inverted commas, and I was quite amazed at how Catholicism could be such an amazing part of her life. And then she died not so long ago, and I went to the Catholic Church funeral for her, and because she was such an integral part, she had a friend who was a priest, whatever, and they stood up there and they said, like, we can't say that she was, this is the gist of it, we can't say that she was totally pure and totally whatever, so we will have to beg God for forgiveness for her sins on her behalf. Now, this woman, she was
good.
Yeah, and I just think to myself, here we go again with organized religion. It's just,
I can't do this.
Yeah, but so I used to go to different churches, and I kept on looking for something, but I wouldn't get what I was looking for.
Okay. Then, not too long after that, we kind of met. Must be middle 90s, somewhere out there, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you stand spiritually then? Floating.
Very much so.
Were you a floater?
Questioning questioning. You know, it's quite amazing because when we wanted to get married, and I don't know, there's this closeness to something, well, there was a closeness to me about kicking against about what society deems sort of normal. So when we got married in 1999, Anthony and I went to Morgenhof. We chose a venue, and Morgenhof gave us a list of florists, this, and a priest. And it was a Methodist priest. And we had to go for one meeting with him. I mean, you don't kind of pretend that you're religious, but you just kind of pretend that you want to do it. I don't know. And he'd be like, do you want to do it in front of the eyes of God? And we just were like, well, you're a marriage officer, so let's say yeah. You know, it wasn't... But there was no
real connection with that part
not
of
at all.
Okay.
It was more about the wedding and more about the party and the whatever.
It was a lovely party. I enjoyed it though.
So did we. Yeah, it wasn't about a spirituality thing. It wasn't. But it was, yeah. So where was I then? Nowhere.
We were all quite in a weird space. We were all... My feeling, I always do this and I always say that, sorry, when I do a podcast about how, before we have our chat, I always think of
our experiences
together and where the conversation can go. And for me, if I think about it, it's nearly as if what blended our group of friends together was a search or a work towards success and wealth and
but you know
material
what? Can
things.
I tell you the word? I'm sorry to interject.
Please go.
But it's a superficiality thing
Yes.
for me, and that's what I'm getting to. Always, I was searching, but there's this thing that you have to do. There's this ladder that you have to climb, and they're the right and the wrong things to do, and the correct way, and you've got to stick to the rules, and you've got to, so there's this feeling inside your chest, but there's this, you know what it is for me? It's when the intellect and the emotions don't connect. There's a disconnect, because I think about things and I feel things, but I can't match the two because it's wrong.
Yeah.
So that for me was that for me has always been a massive thing.
And we were at that stage in our lives, we were ahead.
Oh, totally. I get goosebumps when you say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it's about the right parties to go to, the right
clothes to wear,
the right way to look, the right
stuff to have in your house. Yeah.
Everything.
I'll never forget how we'd buy new things for the house and then invite people specifically to show off what you bought.
But you see, now that's still, I mean, I still love a beautiful home, and I still love
absolutely.
But I'll never forget you one day saying to me when I was buying couches or whatever for our new home just down the road, and I said like, and how are we going to entertain, and how are we going to put this, and you said to me, but Dionne, this house is mainly for you and Anthony, and please God, children when they come, but mainly for you and Anthony, you've got to make it comfortable for the two of you. And that's been very much a thing for me. I mean, always, once again, I felt like I belong and I don't belong, because, yes, I'd be once again in that stage in our lives. I was searching for the thing that made my heart feel right, but then I was doing things that my head thought was right.
Yes.
But yet, yeah, it was a struggle. There was always this.
I connect with what you're saying so well. I never thought about it that way, but you are 100% correct. It was a battle between the head and the heart, and at that stage the head won.
I want to entertain people and make my delicious homemade chicken pie. Oh God, no! I've got to do. My head goes, no, shit! I need to do
fashionable food.
Yes, like something that's more, on trend, on point.
Exactly.
And the pressure. Or there's something, if you're passionate about it, that's another thing. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was writing with a pen, and it was sort of like almost like a calligraphy pen. And I was like, oh God, I love this pen. She's like, you're so passionate about so many things. I said, yes, I finally discovered what I'm passionate about.
That's fantastic.
I love writing with a beautiful pen and trying to practice making beautiful whatever. I love gardening. With a passion. I love rain. Do you know what a rain lover is? It's a pluviophile. I'm a pluviophile. And
are you serious?
When I say
pluviophile.
Pluvio. She was saying like she doesn't even know what she loves. I said I can tell. Cooking. I'm talking about just about me. I'm not talking about obviously my daughter and Jacques and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
What for you important? I moved down to Cape Town in 93. And I was in Pretoria then, and I was in a very, very insular group of friends. And I moved down to Cape Town and I went to a movie. And I walked out of the movie and I thought, did I like this? And I didn't know, because I didn't have a group of friends to define for me whether I need to like this or not. It was the weirdest feeling. I couldn't decide for myself whether I liked the movie. I needed the group's rules.
affirmation.
Exactly.
That's, once again, that's about head. That's about where am I going to fit in? How am I going to fit in?
Totally
who's going
so.
to like,
Selling
who's
your
not gonna,
soul to fit in.
Exactly. Whereas if I went to watch a little play on a little farm I took Gemma, and there were these girls and guys. It's a little drama thing or whatever, and that's another thing that moves me. Beautiful singing, but that touches me. It moves me, and I found myself with a tear running down my face watching this little theatrical performance. This woman had a voice second to none. It was Jack and the Beanstalk. It was little cardboard props. It was and then she started singing. And I'm getting goosebumps again.
Awesome, you are actually getting goosebumps.
So
that's fabulous.
That's what I say. And now that's that thing of like somebody defining what I need to like to be able to fit in is no more.
Yeah.
But
is it age or is it spirituality?
I
or
don't
do
know,
the two go together? For me,
I think, it's life experience as well. I mean, as you know, I'm now divorced, so that emptied me.
That was kind of your watershed.
Oh, without a doubt. Because, I was so empty after that. I didn't know whether I liked tea or coffee. I didn't know whether I wanted to be religious or a-religious. I didn't know. I knew nothing. I was nothing. And I slowly had to find, and that's why I say all roads lead to the same place for me. It's like my spirituality is about my fulfillment and how whole I am. So whether it be about, and you said earlier about having rituals that give you because of your spirituality or whatever.
Yeah.
It can be gardening, it can be anything, and that can be, I can't sit and meditate. I've got too much energy. I can't sit there and
I can't see you.
I can't sit and but I know after a very stressful day, I find myself and my heart is right in my neck, and I'm stiff and I need to shed something, and I'll go into my garden and I'll start.
And she does have a most awesome garden. It looks like it's like a fairy garden type of thing. That I always get that feeling of being safe, and you don't know what you're going to encounter around the next bend. Do you remember the Easter egg hunt?
Oh my God! Do you know that my gardener was finding Easter eggs for years afterwards? It's like this verliebte little a thingy egg, a bunny. What do you call it? A lint bunny or a verliebte. What was that? What were those marshmallow egg things?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the most decadent things I've ever done in my life. That was insane.
I must show you those photos.
That was decadent. Good God. The amount of chocolates that seriously, for like a year after that, he'd like dig up a plant or pull out some leaves or something, and there'd be like another Easter egg there. Awesome. So it lived on long after the event.
Way after. But my garden, so that for me, I go and I dig, and next thing I know, it's actually dark, and I'll think, oh God, I need to wee or something, and I'll go inside and switch the light. I'll come outside again, it's absolutely pitch dark, but I've been sitting out there seeing quite happily, doing what I was doing, and I get lost in that. You asked, is it age? I think it's age, coming to know yourself. I think it's life's experiences. As I say, after my divorce, I became empty. I was a shell. I was an
So divorce kind of took you to your knees, to not use it religiously, but it took you to a rock bottom where you kind of had to say, I need a sense of meaning, I need something.
I didn't know who I was. It floored
You
me.
remind me of what you're saying is that there's a Laura Branigan song called Ti Amo, where she sings the words, you took the world out from under me, look what you've done to me. more. And that's kind of suddenly you're just
But that's it. Not just took it.
left.
You kicked it out from under me.
Yeah.
I felt like I was flailing, like in the wind. I was like,
Oi, 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 oi.
yeah, I was lost. I was lost.
And how did you find purpose?
I had a daughter. Because to be brutally honest, I didn't want to live anymore. This was...
She was how old then? A year?
2.5.
2.5, okay.
Coming from Manola Dale.
Awesome. There's tissues right next to you.
Awesome, he
We are
says.
in my counselling rooms. The tissues are always here.
Coming from the background that I came from, I never wanted to get divorced. And I think, Freddie, that's again head and heart. You know, he was such an integral part of my... I mean, as I said, I met him when I was 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think it also goes a little deeper in that we share a child.
Yeah.
And
That
I
will
mean,
always
Gemma
be,
is my alpha and omega.
and she is so sweet and so cute.
She is the be all and the end all for me. So anything that has to do with her well-being is of
Paramount
importance to me. I didn't ever want to get divorced.
Yeah.
So I think, once again, head and heart, maybe now I can see that we weren't going to make it, you know. But then it seemed as if my whole, I was catatonic. It just...
And then what picked you up? Because you lived through it. How did you do that?
Yes, that's Freddie.
God only knows. And she's not going to tell.
No, it was an evolution. I mean, I know it's quite symbolic for me. Again, here I find, again, and it might sound very esoteric to certain people or what have you, but the fact that I was married for 18 years and it took me 18 months to pick myself up again.
Wow. I just want to quickly put a sidebar again. By that time, due to my addiction and the cock that I caused through my addiction, Dionne and I have lost contact.
Yeah.
So it's only later on that we picked up. So this is really part of the story that I don't really know. So okay.
Yeah. No. But as I said, look, I went for copious amounts of counselling.
Okay.
Copious amounts of
Psychiatrist, psychologist, counselling.
well, yeah. I mean,
all of the above.
All of the above. I went to a psychologist. We would speak through things or what have you. And I think she pointed out quite a good thing to me. She pointed out, I mean, she didn't point out a good thing. She was unbelievable in all of this. She was instrumental in what...
So she was what you needed at that stage.
Yeah, very much so. Had I been to see her? Yes, I'd been to see her before when Anthony had cheated on me. I think that was also a bit of a starter because that's when I went to go see my psychologist as well. And that's where I started finding out a little bit about me, what makes me tick, what it actually makes me tick.
Where do you stand in
where do I stand? Yeah. And then after the divorce, I went to see her again. But, you know, I think I was so exhausted that eventually I felt like I was dragging myself through molasses. And she said to me, I need to go and see a psychiatrist. I need to take something because... And one day eventually I said to her, you know what, I think you're right. Because I lay on my bed looking up at the swing thinking how I could actually wrap that ketang, whatever. But wrap
Get me out of this type of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went to see a psychiatrist. She put me on medication. That worked very well. But still, I was shut down. I was so closed to anything and everybody. And then I started finding those little things that made... And I'm a mother. I need to be there for my daughter. And I love her more than life itself.
Yeah.
So I will do anything to make it right. And also, again, something she said to me, my psychologist, was... She said to me, I said to her, how am I ever going to be able to feel pure, unadulterated joy again? Because there was that heavy feeling that I never felt that from your gut up, that kind of euphoric feeling again.
Yeah.
She said to me, Dionne, if you have the ability to feel it, you can feel it, but you've just got to find what brings it back for you.
Yeah.
So I had to, and this is going to sound weird when I say it because it sounds religious, but I had faith that the universe will bring it back to me. I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the more...
It's kind of more hope. And
Yes.
then you cling to this hope which gives you faith. Which
Yes.
becomes kind of faith.
But that's why I say it's all the same thing. And the
Yes.
words that we use, you know, another thing I learned, and it's about the emphasis we put on certain words. Like, I found I needed to be selfish. And selfish has got such a negative connotation to it. But Freddie, without the selfishness, I wouldn't be able to refill my vessel, me, with the energy that I needed to be everything I needed to be for everybody else. And that vessel was very small initially. So I had a very small, and generally it was for my daughter. But,
It's really interesting that you bring this selfishness into the conversation because, as you say, there's such a negative connotation to the word. But we need to be okay. I, Freddie, need to be okay with me before I can be there for anyone.
For anything
and
or
in order
anybody.
to make me okay, I need to make... I like to and I use this word in therapy with a lot of my clients as well, is it's not being selfish. It's making healthy decisions for you so that you can be okay and then to be at service for others, because ultimately you stand in service to Gemma on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And you need to be okay to be able to do that for her. And for that, we need to make healthy decisions and put up boundaries and say, that doesn't work for me, that works for me, that I can do, that I can't do. That word no, oh my God, it is the most difficult word ever. I didn't know no because people were not going to like me if I said no.
But exactly, but now do you know what? But that's why I say, okay, so we started this conversation off with, you said, faith, you said it's more like hope. But fuck what it means. It's what it means to me.
Trust, hope and faith. They go together in one word, one entity, one whatever.
And the same with selfishness, or whether you call it putting your boundaries up, whether you call it selfish, whether you call it taking care of me, whether you call it self-love, anybody can call it whatever. I now know there's a sense of knowing within me of what I need. And it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I've learned. And it's just, I keep coming back to this kind of thing of knowing and a true sense of knowing.
I'm looking at you explaining, and to know where you put your hand when you say knowing, in your heart region.
But exactly, because what about knowing?
So you've moved from your head to your heart.
But for me, the two mix now. That's what I'm saying. So for me, I mean, you can't only live according to your heart. If I lived according to my heart only, dan sou die groot kak
the pawpaw's going to hit the fan
in a big way. Yeah, but it's about melding the intellect with
connecting
the heart.
The two.
It's because we are it's one. So my ex-husband had a baby in the middle of this year with his girlfriend. I was so scared. First of all, when he told me, the feelings that it evoked in me, because I have two half-sisters that my mother had with her first husband.
Okay.
Then my father and her got married and they had me. Then my parents got divorced. My father got remarried and had my younger brother. And in so doing, I mean, talk about senses of loss and gain, but yet not fitting in anymore. Oh, God, complicated. Anyway, so he brings this whole thing up. He brings this thing up to me about he's having another baby. And I instantly, because I so don't want Gemma's life, and all through the divorce and going to the child psychologist and everything, the main thing for me was I didn't want Gemma's experience to be anything like mine. So the work that I have done to make it different has been like, it's chalk and cheese for Gemma with regard to my experience and her experience. So I did have a bit of like a wobble after he broke the news to me, and then he had the baby, and I must admit I was quite apprehensive about him having the baby. And he phoned one night and he spoke to Gemma. Jacques was with me. We were all so excited. I was so excited, and then she had complications, and I was so worried.
Oh, shame.
And then the baby was born, and then I was so happy. And do you know what I mean? It's just.
That's amazing.
And I realized then that I was happy for him and bought the little boy a gift from Gemma and whatever. And only later did I realize that my feeling was actually both intellectual and heart.
Wow.
So that move on, that because I reckon spirituality isn't a given and a thing we have. It's a path and a journey. So I'm still on that. I'm still on that because there's still lots of shit I need to learn and stuff I need to do, whatever. But I suddenly realized afterwards that it was a truly head and heart total feeling, not a Not oh dear, I better, am I happy, am I not? I was just like, wow, Jim's got a brother.
We had that most awesome lunch at your place when we did the filet on the braai.
Oh, yes.
Shortly after the birth. And you, out of your own accord, said to Gemma, do you want to call your dad and find out how whatever is doing? And knowing your kind of history with the divorce, I kind of, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? I didn't say anything, but there was a shift there of whatever proportion you want to call it. I couldn't believe. And I felt so happy for you that you seem to have been able to take the next step.
I so love just feeling and doing because it's how I am. It's a flow. It's a, and you know what? Gemma's ecstatic. And I hated it when my father would speak about your mother, and I remember once being ill. And at my father's house, my father didn't know what to do with me. So I just, I want to go to mama, so I can't anymore. I was vomiting, you name it, okay? He takes me down to my mother's house, but my mother will not allow my father onto her premises.
Oh my
so
word.
I had to take my suitcase out of the boot of the car,
Being as sick as a bloody dog.
vomit on the pavement,
Oh no.
and then carry my suitcase into my mother's house and my mother wouldn't come out to greet me because my father was still there, and my father wasn't allowed. Okay. So,
Oh my God.
so now, and for me, Gemma's so excited about this brother. So do you want to phone your dad and find out how Caden is?
Yeah.
And that's, there's been, as I said, there's been a move, a shift.
And this podcast is about spiritual journeys. And you said it so nicely. It's been a journey, and it is a journey that we're on.
I said to her, I felt like I was the uppermost branch of a tree that I was just flailing about, not knowing who I was. And then another, and I said I wanted to be more like the bus van die boom.
Yeah.
More stable, still a bit of movement and joy, firmly rooted. I still have, you know what I mean, but I want to be more stable.
At what stage did you know I've got that stability? Something, was it an event, or was it just growth? To slowly but surely
it was growth. It's like growth. It's like growth. It's
the tree grew into you.
But also, I remember saying to her one day, and I'm trying to think what actually precipitated that. I remember saying to her, you know what? I've just let go. I can't anymore. I said to her, I feel like I've been trying to stop an avalanche, a cataclysmic fucking avalanche from happening. And like, I'm running, holding it. And I'm just so tired. I just said to her, I feel like I've stepped, again, goosebumps. I feel like I've stepped away and watched the avalanche. I'm okay. The shit can happen.
Yeah.
And it can roll and it can go. And I don't know. It was just, I don't know how. I don't know how I got to that.
That's
but
amazing.
I just thought I just need to.
In
I've got to
recovery,
stop
use that term,
holding on.
surrender.
Yeah, okay.
You surrendered. You stopped
Then
fighting and you surrendered.
Do you know
and
what?
everything
It's
was
easier-
okay.
It's easier to stop fighting. Again,
Exactly.
it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Fighting to control everything and to make it right and to make it happen the way that I thought I needed it. And you know what? I couldn't anymore.
Yeah. I hear you. So, as things stand today, do you have a higher power, a God, whatever? Is it nature? Oh, before I forget, I wanted to come back to gardening and nature. So I've got nature as my higher power. And I sometimes feel guilty because I don't spend enough time in nature. But I love gardening. And when we moved into this house, it was completely wild and gross and whatever.
And now it is magnificent, just for the record.
And I kind of made a deal with Natura, my higher power. And I said to her, I'm going to rip this stuff out that I don't think fits, but with your guidance helping to make it beautiful. So I know nothing about gardening at all. But with her guidance, it sounds so weird to say that. I bought the right plants for the right place, but just reading the label, sunny, shade, whatever.
No.
Yeah, and then put it in.
And loving it.
And found so much joy and pride.
But don't you
in
think that you see, you asked me what is my God? I call it a Mr. And I mean, the feminists out there are going to, I call it Mr. U. Just the universe at large.
Fabulous, yeah.
Mr. U. And I often speak to Mr. U. I'm like, dude, seriously?
What the fuck?
What the fuck? You
What
know?
are you thinking?
And then I'll have these little conversations of like, okay, now listen. Seriously, I'm going to plant this plant here. But Mr. U, speak to whomever you need to, whatever, and look around. I'm like, I'm pouring all my love into this plant. Do not let it die. You know, that...
I find a dying plant a personal
affront.
Affront, that's the word I'm looking for. And my first blog I ever wrote was about a dying plant. It's not like, if you're going to die, just fucking die. Get it over and done with.
Don't start flipping.
Yes,
and
the amount of energy and love and investment I make in trying to save this thing. And invariably you don't. This morning I cut down a rose in an attempt to revive it. And this afternoon it's going to get extra food. And in my heart, I know it's not going to make it. But I need to put in every flipping effort to say, just die already. And
either just die or just
out of my misery.
But then Freddie then I'm very often surprised because I'm astounded by Mr. U, because I put in a grey water system and I had this beautiful rose. I've got this thing now. My garden has got massive trees, so I've got one spot of shade of sunshine that roses will grow in, and I've got what is called a Just Joey. It's this old-fashioned tea rose that makes these massive blooms that smell. If I cut them and I put them in my room, my whole room smells like it.
Lovely.
And they needed to take this thing out, and I thought, oh fuck, I planted when I first moved in there, so it's like 16 years old. It blooms beautifully. I prune it every year. I do whatever, and I thought, the installation was supposedly going to take like 2 weeks. It landed up taking 4 months. That rose was out of the ground for 4 months, and I thought, well, now I've lost it. Yeah, ciao, arrivederci. Eventually I said to them, can you just plant it over there? It was under the mulberry tree, which, too shady, to whatever. Freddie, the thing has taken, so that also just amazes me. That's, it's just...
I think it's not going to sound kind of freaky, but I think in a big way it's about our intention. Is our intention pure in what we're doing in our gardens? And for me, it's I love the garden to be lovely, but it's about kind of also giving back to let other people enjoy the garden when they drive into the complex. We're the first house as you come into the complex, so it reflects kind of on the complex. So part of what I do is also for the
good
people.
of the but that's another thing as well. You talk about giving. It's just like a sense of, I try and do what I can. So you talk about giving and whatever, and it's just a sense of feeling good and whatever. I try and collect things for like the hospice, or I will. I don't know, small things, very small things. Donate my books to the bookshop that they can sell and they can get some money from, or give my old sheets and things to Nazareth House because they look after the AIDS babies, or that kind of thing as well. So it's that's why I say, once again, it's such a holistic thing, this whole spiritual thing. It's like, you do that so the whole complex can enjoy, and it's our intention behind it, and it's such a vast thing.
It's amazing. It's huge. It really is.
It's massive. And it's like, it's generally every little part of your life that it's like keeping somebody else in the forefront of your mind. Instead of just thinking about myself, I like to think, how will...
That's exactly where I want to take the conversation now, about I'm not the center of the universe.
Yeah, oh my God. And that's another thing. So my therapist, one day I was complaining about, like, I haven't heard from this friend so long, and I don't know what I've done, and and what have I done wrong with my mother. And eventually she looked at me, she says to me, it's not always all about you.
That is possibly the most powerful words. It's not about you.
It's not suddenly. But you know what that made me do as well? That made me think about how my actions can be either misinterpreted, or maybe, like, if I think like somebody's irritating me with something, I can think like, shit, what do I do that irritates somebody else? So it's like this mirror thing. It's not always about me, but then also to put somebody else, like I said, in the, like, maybe they perpetually do that, maybe I perpetually do that to them and I'm irritating them, or they perpetually doing that, but they're not doing it in also the intention behind it to necessarily,
we use the term in recovery, or the phrase in recovery, what does it say about you? Look, turn around and look at you. Invariably, those people reflect something at you.
If you're terribly judgmental, then you think everybody else is terribly judgmental. And if you are worried about what somebody else is thinking, then and vice versa.
Totally so. Now, look at the time.
I don't know where the time is. Holy
That's how long we've been chatting.
smoke.
It's amazing once you get going.
We haven't even got going yet.
So we're going to end now. And I'm going to ask you my favourite question. And I always love people's answer to this.
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Ah! Whoa!
Yes.
That's fabulous.
I am. I have the most amazing daughter in my life.
She is fabulous. She's just so sweet.
I have an amazing man who loves me, Freddie, for me. And not because I'm portraying anything other than I am. I'm not saying it's perfect, oh God.
There's nothing like perfect.
No.
It doesn't exist.
And I've got amazing people in my life who have, amazing friends, and I'm happy within me. I'm happy. Am I happy? Yes, I'm happy.
Nothing from the outside's going to do it. You found it inside you.
Yes. And listen, I mean, things from the outside can do it. Things from the outside can influence it and can... Shark influences my happiness.
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, if we have an argument, I don't feel so happy inside afterwards.
Of course.
But am I happy? Yes. I can breathe down to my gut and be happy in, yeah.
I lied, and I always do. While people are doing this, I've got one more question that's a double
I thought this, yes.
double-barreled. As a businesswoman, and as somebody who works in, and I don't want to offend you, but in a plastic industry, which is all about the outside. How do you
put the two together?
How do you mold all of this?
Well, I think that's another realization, is that I'm me and they are they.
Ah.
And I provide a service, and not all of what I do is plastic. I do a lot of talking. A lot of my clients come to me and love talking to me. And if I only had to do the beauty therapy side of it, on a whole, I wouldn't enjoy what I do. I find my job a real mix of psychology and beautifying. And I am good at what I do. So it does give me a sense of satisfaction, but it's also to see the growth within people. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I did psychology 1 at college. I mean, it's not, but with my journey, I think I've incorporated that into my work as
Fantastic.
well. And it's amazing to see the reciprocity from my clients. Yeah.
But something came up for me while you were talking is, part of our journey is also to learn to feel good about us. And having beautiful nails make you feel good about you, then you are providing that service, which is really important.
But exactly.
Dionne, that was so awesome.
Okay,
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm not so nervous anymore. That was fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did too.
The mic didn't bite. Thank you so very much. Go and
Pleasure.
finish your food and make a beautiful lunch, which I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
I'll let you know when you go on air.
Oh, my word. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. As you can hear, Dionne and I have walked a long road. We had many most lovely times, but when life happened to us, we had to work hard to pick up the pieces again. It does seem as if both of us came out of it much stronger and better equipped for life on life's terms. I regret the years that Dionne and I have not had contact, but am happy that we are building on a new friendship. I call it a new friendship because I believe we are vastly different people than we were back then. Older and wiser indeed, both with a sense of spirituality that was not present before. I loved to hear that Dionne, without hesitation or reservation, acknowledged that she is experiencing happiness today. For that I am truly happy for her and wish her all of the best in the future. I wish us many happy meals and visits together in the years to come. If you have any feedback or remarks, please feel free to pop me an email or connect on social media. It will be great to hear from you. If you want to know more about what I do, please feel free to connect with me on my website, which is www.freddy.org.za, or find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/freddy.org.za/, or on Twitter at @RensburgFreddy. Remember that Freddy is always spelt with an IE at the end. Be safe. Bye-bye.